It's been 24 years since the Bronco name was resigned to the history books, with Ford instead focusing its efforts on more accessible, family-focused SUVs. The good news is the Bronco name is back, and it looks meaner than ever. The Land Rover Defender and Jeep Wrangler rival isn't just a glammed-up SUV better suited to dusty lanes rather than muddy trails. It's a proper off-roader with a dedicated terrain management system that lets you leap over mountains as if they were mere bumps in the road. Sounds exciting, right? Well, as we're about to explain, it won't be making its way over to the UK or the rest of Europe. Still, that won't stop us from bringing you 5 things you need to know about the rebooted Bronco. When we first started seeing rumours about the Bronco, it was widely believed that Ford would finally offer its popular 4x4 in markets outside of the US. But now the car has been revealed in full, it looks as though it won't be leaving its home anytime soon. So why is that? Well, Ford haven't given us an official word on why it'll only offer the Bronco in the US. However, there's a very good chance that it's down to emissions. The Bronco will launch with 4 relatively large and powerful engines, and while there are no official emission figures for them yet, they'll likely chuck out a fair amount of CO2. The EU has already started phasing in stringent new emission laws that means companies operating in the region must have average fleet emissions of no more than 95 grams per kilometre of CO2. Car makers that produce more will face major fines, so, as you can expect, high-volume manufacturers will want to keep emissions to a minimum. And that's why we can no longer buy the Suzuki Jimny in Europe. The Bronco could have a severe impact on Ford's fleet CO2 emissions, so we'll just have to put up with the Ranger for now. With the bad bit out of the way, it's time to focus on what the new Bronco is all about. A bit like the Land Rover Defender, the Bronco comes in either 2- or 4-door form. But unlike the Land Rover, you'll be able to remove the doors and roof to make the most of the fresh air while you're scaling a mountain. Both models also have extended wheel arches, seemingly made of black plastic, adding to the overall rugged look. There is, however, a third, more tame version called the Bronco Sport. This one doesn't look nearly as rugged or aggressive as the standard Bronco, but it's aimed at those who are after a more subtle version of the rebooted off-roader. It comes exclusively in 4-door form with 5 seats, and you can't take off the roof or doors. It's also built on a different platform to the bigger Bronco, sharing the same C2 architecture as the Ford Focus and Kuga. As mentioned earlier, the Bronco will come with 4 engine options, 2 for the main Bronco and 2 for the Sport. The big Bronco range kicks off with a 2.3-litre 4-cylinder EcoBoost engine producing 266 brake horsepower and 400 Nm of torque. But if you fancy a bit more punch, you can go for the bigger 2.7-litre V6 EcoBoost motor, which ups the power output to 306 brake horsepower and 542 Nm of torque. Both motors come complete with a 4-wheel drive system and a 7-speed manual gearbox, although you can choose a 10-speed automatic as an optional extra. As for the Bronco Sport, the engine range comprises of a 1.5-litre 4-pot EcoBoost unit, delivering 179 brake horsepower and 258 Nm of torque, while the 2-litre motor ups those numbers to 242 brake horsepower and 373 Nm. As is the case with the bigger Bronco, the Sport comes with 4-wheel drive as standard, but the only gearbox option available here is an 8-speed automatic. Make no mistake, the Bronco isn't all show and no go. It's a serious off-roader, and Ford has gone to great lengths to give customers all the tech they need when venturing off the beaten path. The off-roader comes with Ford's new terrain management system, which comes with GOAT driving modes. No, the modes don't turn your Bronco into a mountain goat or Lewis Hamilton. Prove me wrong in the comments. GOAT is an acronym for Go Over All Terrain, which lets you choose between a whopping 8 driving modes. They are Normal, Eco, Sport, Slippery and Sand, Baja, Mud and Ruts, and Rock Crawl. Most of the driving modes are pretty self-explanatory, but the Baja setting has piqued our interest. Apparently it's designed for those days where you need to trek across a desert, but we're hoping it jacks up the suspension and lets you jump over dunes like a Baja buggy. In true Ford fashion, you won't need to sell your arm or face to become a Bronco owner. Prices start at $29,995 for the two-door model, which works out at about £24,000. Obviously, none of that really matters for UK buyers as we won't be getting the Bronco, which is a crying shame. Guess we'll just have to stick with the Land Rover Defender and its non-removable doors. For more car news and reviews, head over to YesAuto.com.